What drives a person to destroy something beautiful, something that holds a lifetime of memories, in a single, reckless moment? On a quiet summer evening at Willow Creek Marina, the answer to that question unfolded in a way I never could have imagined. My name is Emily Harper, and this is the story of how a stranger's rage, a boat named Serenity, and a twist of fate turned my family's world upside down. It was July, the kind of sticky, golden evening where the air hums with cicadas and the lake reflects the last rays of the setting sun. My dad, Michael Harper, had spent decades building his life around Serenity, a 30-foot sailboat he'd restored with his own hands. It wasn't just a boat, it was his refuge, his pride, the vessel that carried him through the loss of my mom 10 years ago. Every weekend, he'd take me and my little brother, Lucas, out on the water, teaching us how to tie knots, read the wind, and chase the horizon. Those moments were sacred, a tether to the family we used to be. That evening, I was at the dock, polishing the brass fittings on Serenity, while Dad and Lucas grabbed ice cream from the marina shop. The place was peaceful, with only the soft lapping of waves and the occasional cry of a gull. Then I heard her Karen. Her voice cut through the calm like a knife, shrill and demanding, as she stormed down the dock toward her own boat, a flashy yacht moored 2 slips away. She was yelling into her phone, something about a canceled catering order for a party she was hosting that night. I didn't pay much attention at first. I'd seen her type before, wealthy, entitled, always looking for someone to blame. But then she stopped, her eyes locking onto Serenity. I froze, sensing something off. Karen, in her pristine white sundress and oversized sunglasses, didn't belong near our weathered, lovingly patched-up boat. She hung up her phone, her face twisted in a scowl, and muttered something under her breath. I should have called out, should have asked what she was doing, but I was 17, shy, and figured she'd move on. Instead, she disappeared for a moment, returning with a can of spray paint from her yacht's storage locker. Before I could process it, she was shaking the can, the metallic rattle echoing in my ears. "Hey!" I shouted, finally finding my voice. "What are you doing?" She didn't even look at me. With a sneer, she aimed the can at Serenity's hull and let loose. Bright red paint spewed across the side, dripping like blood over the name my dad had hand-painted in elegant script. Words appeared, ugly, jagged slurs I won't repeat. My heart pounded as I ran toward her, yelling for her to stop, but she kept going, her movements frantic, almost gleeful. By the time I reached her, the damage was done. Serenity looked like it had been vandalized by a toddler throwing a tantrum. "Why would you do that?" I screamed, tears stinging my eyes. Karen turned, her face a mask of defiance. "This boat's an eyesore," she spat. "It's lowering the value of my yacht just by existing. Maybe now your dad will get the hint and get rid of it." I was speechless. This wasn't just vandalism, it was personal, vicious, unprovoked. Before I could respond, Dad and Lucas returned, their laughter dying as they saw the scene. Dad's face went pale, then red, his hands trembling as he stared at the defaced boat. Lucas, only 10, started to cry. "Who did this?" Dad demanded, his voice low but shaking with rage. I pointed at Karen, who was already sauntering back to her yacht, tossing the empty spray paint can into the water. "She did." What followed was chaos. Dad called the marina manager, who called the police. Karen didn't even try to hide what she'd done. She bragged about it, claiming she had every right to beautify the dock. The police arrested her for vandalism and destruction of property. But the real battle was just beginning. Dad, a quiet man who avoided conflict, decided to sue. Serenity wasn't just a boat. It was insured for its full value, including the countless hours of labor and love he'd poured into it. The repair estimate came in at $80,000, but the emotional toll was priceless. Enter Tom Grayson, the twist I never saw coming. Tom was the marina's handyman, a grizzled ex-Navy sailor who'd been around boats his whole life. He was a quiet fixture at Willow Creek, always tinkering with engines or patching hulls, his weathered hands telling stories his mouth never did. I'd always liked Tom. Taught me how to clean barnacles off a propeller when I was 12, but I didn't know much about him. That changed the day he approached Dad after Karen's arrest. "I saw what happened," Tom said, his voice rough but steady. "I've got something you need to see." He led us to the marina's security office, where he pulled up footage from a camera I didn't even know existed. It showed everything. Karen's tantrum, her deliberate march to her yacht, the spray paint, the slurs. But there was more. The footage caught her earlier that day, arguing with another boater about dock space, claiming Serenity was taking up room that should have been hers. Tom had been watching her for weeks, suspicious of her erratic behavior. He'd even overheard her complaining about Dad to the marina manager, calling him trash for keeping an old junker like Serenity. "Why didn't you say anything sooner?" I asked, stunned. Tom shrugged, his eyes distant. "Didn't think she'd go this far. But I've seen her kind before, people who think money buys them the right to ruin lives." Tom's footage was a game changer. In court, Karen's lawyer tried to paint her as a stressed-out woman who'd made a mistake. But the video told a different story. It showed intent, malice, a calculated act of destruction. The judge wasn't impressed by her crocodile tears or her claims of being provoked by Serenity's ugly appearance. The lawsuit ended with Karen ordered to pay $140,000, $80,000 for repairs, $50,000 for emotional distress, and $10,000 in punitive damages. Dad was vindicated, but the victory felt hollow. The real gut punch came after the trial. We thought the story was over, that justice had been served. But then Tom disappeared. One day he was at the marina, fixing a dock cleat. The next, he was gone. No note, no goodbye. Rumors swirled, moved to another state, joined a fishing crew, even died. I was heartbroken. Tom had been our unsung hero, the quiet force who tipped the scales in our favor. Then, a month later, I found a letter tucked under Serenity's helm, addressed to me in Tom's scratchy handwriting. "Emily," it read, "I'm sorry I left without a word. I've been running from my own ghosts for years, debts, regrets, a life I don't talk about. Helping you and your dad was my way of making something right. Keep sailing. Keep loving that boat. It's more than wood and paint, it's your dad's heart, and yours too. Tom." I cried reading it, not just for Tom's kindness but for the weight of his words. Serenity was restored, gleaming under a fresh coat of paint. But the scars of that day lingered. Karen's money fixed the hull, but it couldn't erase the violation, the way she tried to erase our memories. And Tom, our unexpected ally, had vanished into his own story, leaving behind a lesson I'd never forget. Sometimes, the people who save you are the ones you least expect, and sometimes, justice comes at a cost you can't measure in dollars. Dad still takes us out on Serenity, but it's different now. The water feels heavier, the horizon less endless. Lucas doesn't cry anymore, but he's quieter, more guarded. And me? I'm still trying to make sense of it, aloft Karen's rage, Tom's sacrifice, and the fragility of the things we hold dear. The lake is still beautiful, but it's a beauty tinged with loss, a reminder that even the strongest anchors can't always keep you safe. ND.